Ahoy, 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 all. I'm not sure what that was. But today I wanted to get started on a question, actually, that we got to. I think I haven't really learned the tech yet, but I think that means that there's nobody on yet, actually. Ahoy! So today I want to get started. We're going to do the little piece here, do any Q&A afterwards if you like, and then the recording or highlights from it will be posted. Anywho, today's question actually came to the Barbell Academy from one of our students, or rather a prospective student messaging me, asking if they should get into coaching to begin with, since AI is going to answer all the coaching questions. Like, why should they get into coaching now when people in the future would just ask their phone what they should be doing in the gym, or put their phone up and watch their form on the platform? So, I actually thought it was a great question because this came up 20 years ago to us as coaches. We had a transition from personal trainers with an explosion of CrossFit and the internet and the spread of information to something else, what I'll call skilled coaches. Like, we saw that where, like, people, even the term personal trainer, calling yourself a personal trainer, is less popular now. A lot because it's come with this reputation of just rep counting and bean counting and sitting there and not really adding the same value. Now, back then, that was about 20 years ago, we started to see that shift. Getting on board that game was relatively easy. Just be better than the personal trainers on the market. Like, in order to succeed in that game, you just had to be good at marketing, be good at your personality, and develop a specific skill set. So, barbell strength coaches, endurance coaches, kettlebell. What is that next step? Now, one of the things that in the era that we're in, being skilled coaches, it still relies a lot on being the guy with the answer, on being the guy who answers questions on the internet, who has the right program, the right prescription, the right diet, the right macros, that kind of thing. And in my opinion, I'd love to hear your comments or your thoughts if you disagree. That's going to pretty much go. I think within about 10 years, 20 at the latest, dear God, but definitely within 10. But my thought is within 10, we're going to see even the best coaches, the base program is probably going to be written by something, either macros or an exercise program feeding in from external inputs, and then they're going to modify it. So then the question becomes, what is that next step? For me personally, looking at ChatGPT, looking at all the current technologies that exist, and talking to other coaches who are dealing with this problem, I think there's a couple of things that we can do where we'll at least stay ahead of the Terminators for about 10 years. And the first is solving problems, not answering questions. So one thing that ChatGPT is really good at is answering a question. And the next thing it's really good at, whether it's right or not, is making it sound like that answer is correct. But one thing it's not really good at, and you can try it. I've actually tried it myself. Like, ask it a question. I'm having this problem in kind of a therapy way or a training way. And it's like, what should I do? And it'll give you an answer. And reply back, okay, that didn't work for me. What should I do? And within about, at least in my experience, within about 2 or 3 iterations of this, it'll run out of ideas and just start repeating what it said before. In kind of that same frustrating way the old personal trainers used to give. It's just, I don't know, stick to the program, follow the program, because that's all they had. So our role as coaches being to solve problems. When someone hits a troubleshooting spot, when someone hits an answer that doesn't deliver, how do we get them that response? I don't think that's ever going to change. And I don't think that that's something that's going to be easily answerable. And there are also questions that the AI won't be able to answer because there isn't a large training data set. If you work with disabled athletes, like if you work with very old masters athletes, 70s and 80s, if you work with specific injuries, if you're board certified to help people with certain illnesses, there are not enough data points for the AI to actually adjust to actually have meaningful prescriptions. We can solve in those niche problems too. AI isn't going to be able to program for ultramarathoners for a long time. The next step, helping select between options. So like right now we have ChatGPT and Claude and half a dozen other options. Coaches being able to identify this is the one that's going to help you most, I think is going to be a massive step forward. And then finally, this is a big one, and this is something that like the coaches who are here in this call, every once in a while I have chats in our Barbell Academy, like our student coaching calls or something like that, and I'm like, yes, this is the moment where we deliver where nothing else can, and that's noticing when the client doesn't know what they need. So if you're typing something into a chat box, asking a question, you already know what you think you need to know the answer to. But my best successes as a coach personally were when somebody just kind of like, I just heard a deep sigh after, I was coaching CrossFit and like I have to prescribe them ring rows because that's the rules of the gym if you can't do kipping pull-ups. And all I hear is like a sigh, like, and I just address that. I'm like, hey, what's up? And they say, oh, I've been here for 2 years. So I just kind of arrived on board. I've been here for 2 years and I still can't do a strict pull-up. And the head coach won't let us do kipping pull-ups until we can do 3 strict pull-ups. And I'm like, let's get you on a strict pull-up program. I can get you there within 3 months. It had never even occurred to her that the problem was that there wasn't a specialized program, that CrossFit in general, as it was programmed at this gym, wasn't getting her there, but she could still do it. We as coaches can help step in from our experience with other clients and with ourselves and provide agency to help expand people's opportunities to think, wow, these are opportunities I didn't even know I had. These are questions I didn't even know to ask. And for me personally, I think that is where we can continue to contribute for a long time. And there's no way that an algorithm is going to substitute for that, at least not until we've collected way more data than we have. So that being said, thanks for joining. We're going to try to get the recording of this as well as particularly any highlights from this on the channel. If you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to add them in the chat bar. Ahoy, Sandy. The talk today was specifically on, with AI joining in as a tool, how do we continue to contribute as coaches? And yeah. One thing I'm also actually really curious if you have any inputs here, because I'll probably address them on a future call. Do you use any of the current tools in your own coaching? I know coaches who use Stable Diffusion or Midjourney in particular for like stock photography for their own coaching platform. Or they use ChatGPT. I think the most clever I've had is like they ask it to be their partner in a coaching conversation, and they test, like they beta test this conversation back and forth with that client. Have you used any of these tools in your coaching tasks? I'm also going to have to find Kate Solo. Kate Solovieva, she's a coach who does fantastic work on using these tools. This is one thing, I don't know, maybe I'll move this to a Zoom instead of an IG Live. One thing I don't like is the one way and then having to wait for people to type into a phone for a response. Like, ugh. Well, no worries. I don't want to do the whole Jeopardy thing. So thank you for joining. I hope you got something. If you did, feel free to message if you have any questions. If you're an Academy student, you know where to find me in the Slack channel. You can message the Barbell Logic Academy IG here, or message me directly at CJ Gocher on Instagram. From Greg, AI can't see if a client turns up tired or off for a session without the client realizing. I often have to ask clients if there are any outside stressors happening in their life. Yeah. Like modifying in real time, it would not surprise me. I'm going to be straight up. It would not surprise me if within 10 years, particularly as cameras improve and, oh my gosh, how am I forgetting the term? They're the tethered velocimeters. So measure the speed on the bar, where you have a dynamic coaching response for fatigue. It would not surprise me if it says like, okay, like you were prescribed 300